Hi everybody and welcome to Des and Lauren. This morning we will be speaking about a future, well not future, very present,
It's right here.
right here, global, what I'd like to call Ministry of Truth.
Ministry of Fact Checking. And when I heard about this yesterday, actually one of our supporters made us aware of this. Thanks so much. We just couldn't leave it alone. We had to bring this information to you because fact checking has become a hugely debated subject. A lot of people begging for it and a lot of people scrutinizing it.
So I'm actually quite passionate about this because I fully believe in a person's freedom to be stupid, a person's freedom not to critically think about a subject, a person's freedom to be scammed and fooled. Because that's how you learn and grow, by making mistakes. And by having this fact-checking tool, which is implemented in Google, I think since yesterday or the day before, if I'm not mistaken, what happens is that people, instead of researching and finding various sources of information from many different avenues, instead, it's so easy just to go back to Google, go check on their little fact-checked website and not look beyond that even. And we'll talk to you about it. We have two articles, one from Bloomberg, one from CNBC. We'll be covering the CNBC article on this fact-checking tool that Google has implemented, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see where this goes.
So firstly, we went and checked this. We always verify something, we never trust something, and it's something that will really serve you well. We went, research, used the actual tool to actually see what it does, and we found problems really early on.
Well, yes, especially with the kind of content they want to flag. Anything that speaks about a global governance system, anything that has to do with ill intent from the top global organizations, that seems like it will be silenced in the very, very near future.
And I think the responses that they give are not honest. So we will dive into that not now. We want to make you aware right now. So most of the media outlets that we use for articles is to create awareness. These aren't outlets that we support. We speak openly about the mainstream media being controlled. If you actually look at the committee of 300, you will find people like Rupert Murdoch and many others that own huge companies around the world that actually dictate information and even fool people that call themselves conservative.
The news we bring you, I can't reiterate it enough. It's so important, so relevant, because with these fact checkers, for instance, I fact checked on this Google tool, You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy by Klaus Schwab. And so a few articles sprung up saying that was fake, and specifically as mentioned land ownership, that the claim that land ownership will become impossible or that it is unsustainable is false. But then we can bring you literal news showing you how living units are evolving, how complexes are evolving. We can bring you literal news showing you how property is becoming more and more out of reach for the average person. So this is why bringing the news to you is important, because you can't fact check that. That can't be disputed if a mainstream news article is showcasing it.
So we're using their own publications against them, and this is a very rock solid way of not being called a conspiracy theorist. So we use their information against them in a meticulous way. So the news that we bring you on this channel is relevant to your freedom. And it might not be sensational, it might not be something that'll blow your skirt up. Stick through it. Listen to the end, because often at the end we give you the very important detail. We always like to reward those that stick with it and do the research and put in the effort.
Let's get into the article on Bloomberg, which is not the one we're reading. The article headline is Google brings fake news fact-checking to search results. And then in CNBC, Google expands fact-check tool to flag up fake news in search results. Google launched a fact-checking tool in its search and news results on Friday as the technology giant looks to fight back against the spread of fake news amid mounting pressure on internet firms to tackle such content.
So this is almost like a global control system on what is truth and what is not, and who and what actually determines this. And any person that just uses a tool like this and not question the tool itself will be led down a garden path, and it could be a very dangerous one.
And I believe this would probably be just the tip of the iceberg in the very beginning for the future of the internet.
And because Google owns YouTube, you can see where this is going. We saw massive changes to the amount of views on our channel.
So in the very near future, we might be talking to how wonderful the government is.
In fact, that was on Friday. On Friday, we looked at our views and said, this is impossible.
Weird.
There's something wrong here.
Anyway, the search giant will not actually be doing the fact-checking itself, but instead will surface results from the likes of PolitiFact and Snopes. For example, if someone searches 27 million people enslaved, a result showing the actual claim, who said it, and whether it is true or not will appear. And I actually used this tool this morning. You can just Google fact check, and it'll take you to the webpage where you can type in whatever you wish. And I typed in quite a lot of things, and the results were definitely interesting. In October, Google tested the feature in a handful of countries and specifically in Google News. The announcement on Friday marks the wide-scale rollout of the feature.
As long as this is free for you to use and for you to decide whether this is actually giving you value with regards to specific information or not, I have no problem with that. It's when it starts to affect algorithms in what you can actually see, what you do not see, that it becomes problematic, because it literally will stop people from seeing certain content.
It will inevitably lead there because power always gets bigger and more all-encompassing. The information won't be available for every search, Google said, and there could be instances where the same publisher checked the same claim but came to different conclusions. Google emphasized the fact that it was not checking the facts and are presented so people can make more informed judgments. And a lot of it is just semantics, in my opinion. Like, I typed in Agenda 21, and is Agenda 21 being forced on different countries? And they say Agenda 21 was established in 1992, and it is a non-binding program, meaning that it can't force governments to do X, Y, Z. So it definitely uses language.
But you can withhold funding and many other things, you know,
but that won't be
coercion.
specified.
No, it will
and then
never be specified.
A lot of the results, if you type things in, no, there is no evidence for. Doesn't mean it's not true. So they'll say something is false, then they'll say there is no evidence for X, Y, Z. That doesn't mean it's false.
That should actually mean we have not found any evidence for.
Undecided, that's what it should be. Even though different conclusions may be presented, we think it's still helpful for people to understand the degree of consensus around a particular claim and have a clear information on which sources agree.
I have a huge problem with that because, you know, anyone with a high intellect, when you look at a comment like that, you think, okay, if you should agree with the average consensus of people with lower intellect, which is the majority on the planet, you're in serious trouble. There is a reason why certain people become more skilled, become more qualified, put in more time, put in more effort. It's like in a business. Someone that does better at business gets better results. And that's the whole point of an open market, is that you should be able to outshine someone else. So saying that you should just look at the generic idea out there, who decides who that is?
I read the
consensus.
Someone spread a meme yesterday on Facebook, and it was a definition of psychosis. It was funny. But the definition of psychosis, I can't remember it word for word, but ultimately when a person's beliefs differ vastly from that of their immediate community.
That is...
How do you measure that?
Itself,
How do you measure that? That's terrifying. I think it's the minds that have been the most different that have changed the world and also died for it.
We have the evidence for that. I always go back to look at the evidence. If you look at history, the people that came up with truth stood alone, often died, often got burnt at the stake, etc., by institutions, religious organizations, etc. So history tells us that those that stand alone change the world, often after they have been killed by the world, the mob, the crazy lot, which is literally the average out there.
So let's just end here. Google's move comes amid heightened criticism of internet companies' inability to tackle fake news and misinformation. Google has been one of the companies under fire and has been making moves to improve how it tackles such content.
So governments have been passing legislation around the world, in the EU, in the US, etc., in the UK, where they say that fake news needs to be resolved. And the European Union, the United Nations, they have had large symposiums and discussions on fake news. Fake news has to be controlled. People cannot, like Lauren said earlier, make mistakes, make fool of themselves, be dumb, etc. And I have a huge problem with that. You should live with the consequences of your dumbness.
It also takes accountability away, because now if you go do something crazy and stupid, it's no longer entirely your fault. It's the fault of the people that gave you misinformation. And it takes your accountability away. So we live in a society where everything else is to blame, and that you're not in control of your future or your destiny.
Where you should not question everything either. I mean, this is what they are telling you. Where your consensus needs to be in touch with the majority of people out there. If that is the way we want to run the world will be in serious trouble. Because I can tell you that the majority in the world will end the world in no time. It's few people that's literally made the difference in keeping people alive, developing the technology for them to have comfortable lives. Most people that drive cars couldn't produce a car if they wanted to, or even a tire. I can carry on and on. So, yes.
Yeah. I could test myself building a car, but I definitely don't think I'd be able to build a phone. That would be fascinating to actually test out what could we build that we use. A coffee machine, a blender.
Can you build a sophisticated society from scratch? Do you have the intellect to do that? These are important questions we need to ask. And with these fact-checking control measures being put out around the world, and Google just falling in with it, I think we need to make that clear.
This is where we're going. Everyone's going to think the same, believe the same, and AI is going to develop everything. What a future, people.
Yes. We actually will bring you something very soon, something we just watched on all the artificial women on the internet generated by men. And people are falling in love and getting really upset because they don't have any chance of marrying this bot.
Sad. It's a really strange world we live in indeed. So let's see where this fact-checking goes. It's going to be very fascinating to see how censored YouTube becomes, for example. So if one day you wake up and we have a video where we're praising the government or the UN, then you know.
That won't happen, but that'll be AI generated. So people, who knows what the future holds. We will make sure that we can get to you or make contact with you in some way or form. So in future you might see us looking at other ways and means and platforms.
Do go to Telegram.
Yes.
We'll post 2 links today as well as article links. That will give you a little insight on how limited our freedom can become very, very quickly. This Saturday, we are doing the second workshop of the Level 2 Omega workshops. Workshops different to training. You can book for Omega workshops at bookings at omega.org.za. And this one is dealing with listen and observe for enhanced comprehension. And we look forward to presenting it to those that have walked this journey with workshops with us. And can't wait for the rest of August. Every Saturday, every evening, we are doing a specific workshop to help you navigate in this crazy world we live in.
And that is Omega with a OHMEGA. So please email us if you want to book or find out more to bookings@omega.org.za.